So let's talk about this revolution we talk about in Nigeria. What exactly is the kind of revolution we are talking about? To me, revolution has happened in every society where there is transformation today. When it's developed today, revolution has taken place. I think the problem we have in Nigeria is the Nigerian society have not come to a breaking point as the people as we are. We have not come to a breaking point or a standstill where we would have no left or right to turn other than to go forward. We have not been driven to the end of the road, so our backs have not been placed or pushed against the wall. Because if you realize what the revolution means, like when Shawore started talking about revolution, as he intended, it is a complete overhaul of the running of the institution of government in its entirety, which means, take over the government. You disrupt government administrations and put an end to the government, right? Which is a treasonable offense. So that is the aspect of how we Nigerians envision revolution. But that's not the entire concept of revolution. The revolution can happen in economic revolution, military revolution, industrial revolution, technological revolution, educational revolution, biotechnological revolution. Revolution can happen in different phases, different kind of concept. So I think the way that we talk about revolution in Nigeria has actually made it very impossible for people to buy into that idea to support the movement for a revolution. So the kind of revolution Nigeria needs is a leadership revolution. A leadership revolution is the kind you would say Burkina Faso has right now. So in Burkina, we have a young military head of state who thinks that the leadership of Burkina Faso needs revolution. So when the leadership revolution takes place, you see that it begins to expand the revolution into other areas of where that revolution is needed, because it starts with one key area: leadership. Nigeria need a revolution in the concept of leadership, or Nigeria need a leadership revolution. Because of times we live in, today's reality cannot happen the way you would envision revolution 100 years ago. I think that Nigerians have not gotten to the point where they will realize that it has become necessary for the turnaround of things of leadership in Nigeria. I think this is why we're still struggling. A vast population of Nigerians have not understood what exactly need to be done, the aggressiveness, the rationale behind what need to be done is going to have to be every Nigerian realizing that at this point, if there's no change, then we're in the long run to failure in terms of how our infrastructure, our education, our economy, everything about Nigeria is going to be depleted. And if we keep living on that deficit, that means the generations to come will have to do double the work that we're supposed to do now to fix it, because things are going to continue to change for the worse. Now, another thing is Nigeria has to start positioning itself to become the African hegemon, just like the American is the global hegemony. The Nigeria has to position itself, because I have projected that after the China reign is going to be Nigerian reign. Nigeria is going to take over superpower, say a century from now, and it's going to happen because the economic trajectory of the world is going to be shifted from America, that's the USA in the West, to Southeast Asia, China, from China back to Africa, and it's going to be West Africa, Nigeria. And for this to happen, we have to start working now. This leadership revolution that is required for Nigeria to start working in that direction has to start now. So how do we go about a revolution? Just like Shawore has been talking about revolution. I always make reference to Shawore because he's the only Nigerian who has spoken about revolution in a very vocal and public approach. So we can go about revolution without going about a revolution that will have to be chaotic or brutal, in the most violent way. It has to be peaceful in a way where we're going to use the approach that has never been used before. Because in most countries where revolution happened, it happened in a very most violent way. Let's learn from those countries and those approach and say, how do we do a transformative revolution in a very peaceful approach? So let's just say it boils down to electoral approach. That electoral approach is going to be to eliminate every potential Nigerian leader that do not qualify to be a leader in Nigeria in any position at all. We're not just talking about the presidency. So it starts from the presidency. We are supposed to just find a way to boycott every political party that do not have an ideological position to spearhead this revolution in terms of the leadership quality that Nigeria needs, the leadership revolution that Nigeria requires. To do that, we have to go to the polls and vote in someone that is to lead that revolution. And that person might not have been the one that have been speaking about revolution in the name of Shawara. It could be someone else. But you see, we need to re-educate ourselves, speak about this, illuminate the things that really need to be. I was talking to someone who was asking me, why do I want to be vocal about a revolution, a leadership revolution in Nigeria? Do I not support the current administration? Whether I support the current administration or not, I have no problem with whatever administration we have in Nigeria in the next 200 years. I don't have a problem as a person. But if we look at the Nigerian system as it is and the future Nigeria must have, then this revolution do not have to be a problem of an administration. Politics will always continue. There's no stop. Even if we have a revolution today, it's not going to stop politics. Someone is going to continue to be a president of Nigeria. But what we're talking about is total transformation of the mindset and mentality of the people of Nigeria as citizens first, then leaders second. Because from citizens, you become a leader. The mentality we have as citizens do not qualify us to become leaders. But yet we have people who are leaders who are not even good citizens to start with. They later on become leaders. So the leadership in Nigeria is birthed by the poor quality of followership and citizenship we have as Nigerians. The mindset, the mentality. Why is that? It is because our leadership has not provided us with reasons sufficient enough for us to be good citizens, to build our immune system against the vices that stands against good leadership, good citizenship, or good followership as a Nigerian. So because of that, we have excuses to say it is because government have failed. That's why followership has also failed. So we need to find a revolution that would deconstruct followership as a citizen, deconstruct leadership. So when that revolution deconstruct followership, deconstruct leadership, it would now reconstruct the followership by building reorientation through an ideological society, a concept that would be established to become a Nigerian concept. That's why people will always say there's no Nigerian dream. Yes, to define a Nigerian dream, we have to reconstruct a Nigerian narrative, a story of a Nigerian person who is resilient, who is, strong-willed, determined, to be able to withstand in any circumstance the pressure to be a good person, a good citizen. There's always going to be bad people. There are bad fellows in a society. But first, let us prioritize a very good man approach, gentleman approach, where you say a Nigerian is such and such and such. You define a Nigerian by the charismatics of a Nigerian, by the personality of a Nigerian, the mentality of a Nigerian, the quality of a Nigerian, based on the characters or the characteristics that are, defined in the behavior of that person called a Nigerian. So all of these things will have to, be refined, reconstructed because we have a very poor mindset, poor mentality towards unity as a people, towards progress as a people, towards religion as a people. We have a very divided mindset towards the united Nigeria that we are. I think someone asked me, how do you change the mentality of Nigerians? You can do that through reorientation. But you see, government policies, leadership policies, government systems force people to align. It forces you to align. It forces you to obey. Because if you do not, for example, Nigeria do not have what they call credit score. If a system is established in Nigeria today that has to reward people with positive credit score as against people with negative credit score, people will start respecting the rule that governs that credit score, because it is with that credit score you'll be able to obtain certain services in the Nigerian system. The other day I talked about housing in Nigeria, a housing scheme. For example, you have to possess a good credit score to be able to be qualified to access a government housing scheme. To be able to access that, you have to have a good credit score. This system can change the mentality of people in Nigeria or as a citizen, because you know that if you break certain public laws, if you do A, B, and C, you will not be qualified. Your credit score is going to be reduced. You will not be able to access certain government services, whether free or subsidized. Those things will force you to change your approach towards the mindset you originally have against government, against policies, against leadership, against your fellow Nigerian. These things can change people's mentality and key them into proper, prosperous, and positive or collective behavior. People tend to follow the rules or the rule of law if they respect the leader in power. People tend to obey it more. So that's why you have a division among people, because say I voted for APC and PDP is announced as winner. For example, the last election, people perceive Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi to be the winner, but then who emerges as the president is Tinubu, and so there's a division between those who voted for Peter Obi, not happy being rigged off, and those who voted for Atiku, and those who voted for other political candidates. So you see that there's no consensus of the center or the central government. So if this government breaks out a policy, whether it's good or not, there's going to be this opposition from all of these factions of the voting power, which is the electorate. So what happens is the revolution will have to find a common interest candidate, someone who at least majority of the Nigerian population would be able to align with his vision through this transformation of whatever policies this person is going to be putting out. How can this happen? We need to realize that people common interest aligns when they see it. Forget about rhetorics, forget about political agendas, forget about propaganda. People naturally aligns with people's common interest when they see one. So if you're going to Kaduna and you see someone